to explain DFMA a little bit more in detail. DFMA is the technique used to reduce the cost of a product through simplification of its design. First, by reducing the number of parts to be assembled, and second, to allow for the remaining parts to be easy to manufacture and assemble as well. Basically, the long and short of it really is we want to make inventors much more competitive on the marketplace. And so every edge that you can give an inventor, especially in the design criteria, the design of any product, whether in industry or a new product, can account for anywhere from 70 to 85% of the cost of that product. To use one such example, I'll tell you, digital equipment company. Basically, instead of building a better mousetrap, they went out and built a better mouse, specifically the PC mouse. And in order to, they use DFMA principles, one of the major companies that use it, and knocked off 47% of their cost of building that mouse simply by reducing the parts count, reducing the packaging, and reducing assembly time. They reduced the part that used to take anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes to assemble down to about 32 seconds. The methodology basically entails more than just simply reducing parts, trying to reduce assembly time. In essence, what it's really doing is it's allowing the inventor to take a step-by-step process through his design to simply. Most inventors get so entangled and entailed in their invention, it's their little baby, that they don't step back and take a look at it in many cases. By taking any inventor's project or any industry project, basically what I can do, or that we will be teaching the inventor to do, is to then run it through a criteria, an evaluation procedure. That evaluation procedure, in essence, will then reduce parts by simply having them detail, is this part necessary? If you have a fastener, can that fastener be replaced by a snap? If we have a snap, are there problems with assembling this snap? And then, of course, by reducing parts, we're going to hopefully enable quality, allowing less parts to become loose, break, so on and so forth. Much of this, if it's done within the design phase, is going to be nil as far as cost, as opposed to they're taking it to industry then putting it to the market, and the market then saying, well, now we have to reduce cost to be competitive with some other industry. The basic benefits that DFMA will provide to an inventor are simply reduce the product cost, reduce the labor and the assembly cost. Again, improve the quality simply by the fact that you have less parts to break and possibly less fasteners to come loose. Basically, inventors will understand the importance of the design phase, which in my own experiences I've found that many inventors are so worried about prototypes, and that unfortunately prototypes seem to get to market without ever really going through a very effective design criteria. And so this is going to teach them basically the importance of the design as market penetration, as far as the competitive, how competitive that product's going to be. Basically, DFMA will also further improve their technology, and in essence, you know, they're in the business of technology or improved technology. This is one avenue that's going to improve their technology one further step, I believe. And basically allowing for the step-by-step methodology, it's going to, in essence, give control to the design process, in the sense that with the book or the program that I'm putting out, there will be steps, procedures, charts to fill out and such, where they actually take their design and they will go through every single part of this design and say, is it required? Can it be made out of the same material as some other part in this assembly? Why am I making this out of steel, and why am I making this out of plastic? Can the two be incorporated? And simply a simplification of their design, streamlining the design. Just to give you a little bit of background on DFMA, it was initially funded by the National Science Foundation, has been probably going on about 10 years now. Its real penetration into the marketplace industry as the marketplace has really only been within the last 2 or 3 as far as getting some good publicity, people starting to use it and such. People that are using it right now are Ford, GM, 3M, IBM, Xerox. So, we've got some major corporations that are using these. I feel that if an inventor is going to a corporation and he can already say, yes, I have used the DFMA principles for the design on this thing, that's going to give him one step up on somebody saying, well, now we have to turn around and do that for you. Okay. So basically, just to wrap it all up, my program that basically I'm not going to have to worry about marketing. Phil and people with the Department of Energy are going to take care of that for me, so that relieves that major aspect of the market. And so my concerns and efforts are basically aimed primarily at just coming up with a quality product at this point, and which will be assembled here within the upcoming months. And that is really the completion of my presentation.
What does DFMA stand for?
Design for manufacturing and assembly.
And who NSF fund?
Okay. The NSF basically through the University of Rhode Island funded the study and development of the initial program.
Which was a computer software program, sorry?
Well, not actually. Now, there has been some, now I may not be the absolute expert on that. It was to my understanding, last week I was talking with Mr. Boothroyd and Mr. DeWurst, who are professors at the University of Rhode Island. It was my understanding after talking with them simply that the program in itself, the methodology, was funded by the National Science Foundation. They then separately developed the software.
And do they own the copyright?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
They own the copyright on the software?
They own the copyright on the software. Yeah, I'm not going to utilize the software. For your information, basically the software is $15,000 for the base program, and then modules are about $7,500 a piece as you get into separate areas of injection, centering metals, and such like that.
And who was at NSF? What program funded it?
They are not going to give me that information. I have got letters off right now to the National Science Foundation to get that information.
They wouldn't tell you who funded it?
Other than the National Science Foundation. That's all the information they were ready to impart with. Because of my working on this program, and because of my being at some of the seminars as recently as last weekend, I tried to get as much information, inform them of my intent to take this methodology and to put it basically in use by inventors, and just double checked with them to make sure that I wasn't infringing or stepping on any toes or anything of that order.
What would they say?
They have no problem with that. See, they are not selling the methodology. They're selling their software. They are selling their seminars. And just to be sure, I always like to be careful anytime you're working with something that can, because many people will call it the Boothroyd DeWurst DFMA program simply because those two gentlemen are probably most associated with it. In essence, they started working with it in England, really never got it going too far. I came over here to the United States and then got funding to develop it further, basically using university grants.
How is what you're doing different from the software other than the application one's writing on the
Okay, one
computerized?
in essence, it's simple as this, is the full-blown methodology of taking a product and going through the process can be time-consuming. The software basically allows, and this is an opinion of theirs, I'll make that very clear, their opinion is that it speeds you up and gives you a database. An additional information base that is offered with that software is the fact that if I were to reduce the cost of a product that used plastics, for instance, I would need to know what plastic injection molding costs are per hour, say base cost of materials, information that I would call a plastic injection molder and get. They simply offer a database with those standard, that standard information within it. So they feel as though a major portion of the value of that is the fact that I don't have to call up the plastic injector or the steel guy and find out what tubing's going for per foot. They have all that in the database.
So the difference is they offer a database with their system and you
Yes.
don't, because yours is independent.
Yes. Mine is the methodology, and theirs is basically a database to implement the methodology, where I believe for inventors at this stage of the game, it's probably very useful for them to talk to an injection molding person, if that should be their product line, to get an understanding of cycle times, to get an understanding of cost per, plastic may be 5 cents a pound, but it's costing you 50 cents a pound by the time you get it. You want to know why. And, and many times an inventor doesn't go in understanding that there's overhead, override, labor, G&A basically.
You also,
Don? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
well, I think you want to make clear that the depth of your presentation in this booklet will be a lot simpler and not
Yes,
as comprehensive as would be in one of these more expensive courses.
Yes, I should have made that much more clear. Basically, my program at this stage for the Department of Energy is going to be limited to 50 to 60 pages. And in essence, what I'm doing is I'm introducing to the inventor a method that is really considered new, high-tech, and used by a large industry. And I don't want an inventor walking into IBM and saying, well, here's my product, and having 46 screws on it when he didn't need one of them. And that's the principle behind it all, really.
Really?
How's this thing gonna get used? How does Murray Shipman in Norwalk, Connecticut, who's an inventor?
Well, the first thing he's going to do is he has a product.
Yeah.
He's going to take that product with this assembled program.
Question, how does Murray find out?
How do other inventors, how do people
Yeah,
find out?
That's one of the problems.
Yes.
How do they get this book that we distribute from
They're gonna
Marsh?
give it away.
We're going to
That's one of the
distribute
big
it.
problems. That's what we, well,
We're going to,
Yeah.
we can't solve this right now.
Like I said, it's the marketing end of this particular adventure has really been taken out of my hands, and it will be distributed through universities, libraries.
SBDCs,
Um,
inventor support organizations. We'll miss a lot of them.
This methodology, if I wanted to discover, if I was an inventor and I heard this DFMA stuff as a useful activity and I wanted to know what it was, what would I read? How would I find out?
Because this is a new and emerging technology, there is no textbook out there at this point. There is materials that have been handed out at the seminar. Now, there have been,
Right. If
okay.
there are no written materials except those that these two men have done,
Mhm.
don't those written materials belong to them?
The copyright, okay, not because, now this is my understanding, and like I say, I was very specific in why I wanted information so that I was not infringing. And basically, you have to remember that this is public domain in the sense that it was put together with a National Science Foundation.
You said they took what NSF funded was the software.
No, I'm sorry.
You said the
The
methodology.
The methodology was funded by NSF, which is in essence,
So I would write NSF. That's the answer to that question.
yes,
There's no
They
copyright.
made a report to NSF,
yes,
and if I wanted to find out what it was, I would call NSF.
There's no
and
copyright then.
yes.
Right.
There is copyright on materials that they hand out at the seminars. I very directly asked him, I says, I wish to take information from here. I do not wish, in most cases, I will be rewriting this material and putting it in my own words because I intend to simplify. And I says, is there a problem with this? And they says, we would appreciate if you would, introduce that we are the gentlemen who were in charge or who started this program out.
Is everything in writing?
No, I intend to do that. I think that would just be a safe basis. But because I was at a seminar situation and they suggested that I simply write a letter and they would take care of that in the...
There have been a number of industrial articles.
Yes, and I've got a collection of those. See, DFMA is basically a buzzword of the 90s. Okay, before that it was DFA, Design for Assembly.
Before that it was common sense.
Before that it was DS.
But it started, you said it started in Great Britain, is that right?
Boothroyd and Dewhurst are both British and were with different British universities, and I believe it was British Steel that's using it and such, and the beginnings of the program were used in Britain. And
So they used these materials as a basis for their consultation?
yes.
And they published? I mean, when you get your materials, if I go to their seminar to get their materials, do they have articles that go there to Great Britain?
I have not found any at this point other than their own verbal
So what you have
is
is relatively recent.
within a week. I mean, I have gone to, last year I went to the first DFMA seminar. Basically, it was utilized in the companies that I have been working with. I did some research, determined that Ford says that they had saved $1 billion on the Ford Taurus as far as savings, and so that's piqued my interest to discover that quite a few different companies. GM is also recently licensed. And as an engineering designer, I went to this thing and said, well, I was taught this in school. But as a methodology for industry, it seems as though a lot of people weren't taught this, or they wouldn't be spending, and putting in very public knowledge that they saved $1 billion.
When you went to the seminar, did they give out workbooks or?
Yes, the seminars basically, the first seminar was very simple in the fact that they give you basically what they showed up on the slide projector. It was not very impressive. It was very thick, but it was not very impressive. And that's what made me study into a little bit more. After that point, I then talked the company into sending me back again. On the second one, they had streamlined the seminar. The materials were far better. I have sample material here if you'd like to see that from what I was given at the seminar.
I would.
Okay, I'll be very
I'm
happy.
really curious. Yeah,
See what it
NSF
says.
stuff.
Yeah.
Whose materials it is.
Yeah,
Who you work
because
for, Dale?
basically I've got a unique situation. Is Quest International is my own company, but I work out of Stairmaster because they wanted my services and I didn't want to quit my consultant job, and so I am a permanent employee with my own business run out of the permanent location.
What is Stairmaster?
Stairmaster Exercise Systems,
Oh,
we do
I'm
the
sorry. Right, I didn't.
stair
but
climbers and
not the
such
other
like
two.
that. It gives me a fantastic mix of big industry, small businessmen every single day. I'm probably the only person I've ever known that gets to mix the two and use one to help the other. And is there any other questions or?
One last question. This is being developed with a grant, which means that is there a royalty if
No,
Dale
the
decides
government
to
has,
No.
whatever the written material he supplies to us will be in the public domain.
Yes.
There's no opportunity to commercialize for his own financial gain.
Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
Right.
It's in the public domain, so he can
Yeah. As
make
far
a
as
chapter of one of his books.
yeah, as far as that, to tell you the truth, it was even edited out of my last book because they thought it was just, we don't know what this stuff is. I'm one of these people, I sent in a manuscript this thick and it came back this thick. So in future books I may be able to write about it, and of course this would be background information. I can't see that happening probably for at least a year. I can't see the consumer market being ready to even want to hear about that, really. It is very much a industry buzzword is probably the best way to put it right now. And
Great,
Thank you.
okay.
thanks.